We back. What's up with y'all, man? What's going on? What's up with that?
We ain't going nowhere, man. We right here.
Yeah, we right back with it.
Right here.
So we'll pick up where we left off?
Right where you left off.
All right, so before we get right back where we left off, I do want to say, this controversial topics, I don't want nothing to be taken as anything as any shots, anything like that. I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for my brothers. You know what I'm saying? We all got our own ways of how we want to deliver our messages. It doesn't matter. Every man speaks for himself. So with that being said, my viewpoint is changing as far as how I want to look at the overall picture. You know what I mean? Like I said before, I've always want to know what's up with the underlying things, the silver linings, what's really going on underneath, and that's the safety of the children. And that's where I always come in with that type of stuff when it comes to these type of topics. I just want to clarify, that in general, because I have family, you know what I mean, and different things like that. They just want to make sure it's clear to know it ain't like that. But the question that I had back was an innocent question was, in a tradition, in a old-fashioned tradition, superstition, or the old superstition way was they believed at one time that when a soul was being birthed, that a body wasn't available for that particular soul, so that's what happens. Me, I had to think about that, and there was times where I was growing up and I had seen different people at a very, very young age, and the question was I heard him say, was you born like that? And then I came back with, did something transpire in your life to make that happen? And I think somebody else said something about it. And that's just something that I wanted, because I want to learn more about this whole situation myself too. You know what I mean? Because I need to educate and learn about everything all the time. You know what I'm saying? It's never too late to learn more information from my children, from whoever. And that's all I wanted to say. And that was the question.
Oh, so real quick, I think the same thing for the same disclaimer. Yeah, we're talking about homosexuality today, but it's just like everything else. It's like I said, every other life path. But so we ain't beating each other up. We just coming to the knowledge and the understanding of the truth. And sometimes it comes to revelation, understanding, and dialogue. So with that being said, this is my theory, and God is still building this. Well, not my theory. This is what I'm starting to understand, and God is still building this in me. So if it feels incomplete, it's because God is still telling the story. But I don't believe anybody is born gay or in anything, because the Bible says, well, in Genesis, everything that He made was good, right? And I think once you're born, I think where it comes in is when you're uncovered, because you're born into a world, and if your parents don't know what to cover you from or where to cover you, or they don't even understand what's in their family line. We talk about generational curses, all these.
I was just
things,
about to say that the spirit just was like generational curses
that just attach itself to a soul, a body, because it's uncovered. So I truly believe that my parents didn't deal. I don't know if my mother or father dealt with it. They never told me about it, and I don't know where it started in my family line, but I know it started a long time. So I think I was born into a situation where I was uncovered. Yeah. So I could have been subject to anything. I deal with alcoholism.
Right.
I deal with all these different things, because if your a covering is not knowledge of how to cover you, then you kind of out there. They knew to feed me, clothe me, and these different things. But the spiritual aspect of life, my spirit, man, they ain't know a whole lot about that. Because I'm still learning about that now. So now when my child is born, I know how to cover them because I have some information about where I came from. But this is how I developed that. So, and I'm going to be just like you with family. I want to be very, very vague so no one can be offended or feel like I'm exposing them. But there was a situation with a particular young lady who was pregnant. And this prophet came to us when we first got saved and said, hey, you need to start to pray over this child, because I feel like I see the spirit of homosexuality waiting for that child to be born. I had been saved maybe like 3 months. We ain't know nothing about that. We ain't know what to pray happened. We might have touched her stomach, prayed or whatever. Fast forward 16 years later, I meet these two people again, and I see the baby. And now she's dealing with lesbianism.
Right.
And in that moment, it's like, wait a minute. God took me all the way back to that moment about her being born uncovered and not having the right information. And now this is the life that she's dealing with. Right. And we knew that it was present because we all dealt with it. You know what I'm saying? But we just didn't know how to deal with it. So I think just like with homosexuality and other sin or anything that happened, and then there are things too, like, I was never molested, so I don't know what it's like to be molested and to be drawn to something. I tried to search deep down in my heart, like, did it happen before I was born? Like, did it happen? Is this the reason?
Right.
It just wasn't my story. Other people have that story, so I don't think you can't say this is why it is. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? But God is still. That's my belief from what God has shown me, because the Bible said, "Well, we overcome by your testimony." That's something that I really experienced and is playing in my life.
Amen.
So I have a reference point, of God in my life. So I may not have every scripture for it. I might can't tell you the entomology and all these different things, but I know what happened in my life.
Yeah,
you know what I'm
man.
saying? And that's my theory about how things start.
That's powerful.
Yeah, I got a question. So, when you were speaking about your home life,
Mhm.
your father was going through some issues. Did you say that?
Yeah, he dealt with addiction, drug addiction, alcohol, all that kind of
Did
thing.
you spend a lot of time with him when you was young, or he was doing his thing?
Yeah, because he was a barber. I spent the time. He had a barber shop on Georgia Avenue, uptown. So I spent a lot of time on Georgia Avenue with him. So yeah, I did spend a lot of time with him.
Oh, the reason I was asking because I look at, I was raised by a single mother in a house full of children raised by a single mother, but my uncle was in the house, and my uncle was like hyper alpha. You know what I'm saying? So it was a lot of stuff that he instilled in me so early, especially like violence and stuff like that. He instilled that aggression and all that type of stuff in me early, but I was just wondering, was that because I know the Bible say train a child in the way he must go, and I was wondering, was that a thing?
I think the guy that raised me is my stepfather, so he's not my biological father. But I think having a child that he didn't really know was his. I'm going a little deep. I hope the wrong people don't see this. And having to like understand all that, and then you see this thing in him, like, I don't know where that came from. So I think his approach for me was trying to make me a man. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like what you're saying, I guess. Like he would try to tell me like, this is how a man act, or he would say, if certain things that I would go through in life, all you need is this from a female and you'll feel better. Like, I don't think he really know how to deal with it. His way was trying to make me do things that just wasn't who I am. And I think that's the model for most people. Like, you try to make men this strong man or this alpha man, or you don't cry, you don't do these different things. But what that really does, it just breaks down your spirit. You know what I'm saying? Because even the people that embrace it, when you become an adult, you don't know how to hug, you don't know how to kiss, you don't know certain things make you, like emotional things, the emotional part of you don't know how to tap into, because it wasn't developed.
No, that's
embraced.
a fact.
You know
That's a
what I mean?
fact, and the fact that it wasn't
talk
was
about
it
that
any
too.
type of was anybody even, because you said that they left, that you was uncovered, meaning I attribute that to mean you didn't have anybody like praying over you and not
Right.
have anybody taking you to church and instilling the word in you and stuff like that.
I ain't grow up in church. I was the Easter, Christmas, special kind of event type church.
At least you got that.
I mean, I'm not mad about it, because it played a part. Or like, yeah, my aunt and uncle were pastors in North Carolina. So when they would have events and stuff and come to DC, we would go to the events. So I was exposed to the church, like, kind of. But my parents were just the typical African American family. My mother worked. They made sure we had everything we need. My father, before the addiction took him all the way left, he was a barber. He worked every day. We had money. Like, on the outside, I had everything. I mean, I've been wearing Coach hats before people knew what Coach was. I mean, just because we just had money, and I was the only child. So that aspect of it, I had it. But as far as just nurturing, teaching me who I am, covering me, understanding like strongholds and generational curses, and like being aware of all the supernatural and the spiritual things about life, we just weren't taught that.
Right.
I'm learning about that in my 30s. I'm
Yeah,
getting
me
it
too.
now.
I'm just now learning in my 40s.
I ain't know nothing about it. You know what I'm saying?
I just got one more question, because like, I
Go
mean,
ahead on,
I
son.
appreciate, number one, I appreciate
I was
your
gonna say the same.
courage and
Yeah,
you know what
man.
I'm saying, just to share this type of stuff, because in our community we already know this
Right.
stuff. Like, people be suffering, as he say, in silence for years and never come up, but you free, so you able to do that. And that's why this testimony is powerful, because we able to show other people that
Right.
you can be free, because
Can be free
we
of it.
already know how they always say once certain things transpire in your life, and once you do certain stuff, you can't come back. That's a lie. That's a lie from the pit of hell.
Right.
But like far as I know in my household I grew up, my mother ain't tell me she loved me until I was like 22, and she was being funny. I just took it. I was like, I take it. You know what I'm saying? Was that something that was passed around in your home, or?
Yeah, I think my mother did tell me she loved me. She did like hug me, kiss me, and do things like that. But I think because I didn't have a strong male influence in my life, I think she tried to like not be hard but be strong, so that I can pick. Because my mother was like my best friend, so all my stuff I learned from her. So I think in her trying to teach me that part about my mother's strong as an ox to this day. I don't know if it was inherited or she developed it trying to raise me, but that part of it. So I think my mother tried to give me a balance. She tried to give me what the man in my life didn't.
Right.
But I didn't get a whole lot of like. I cried a lot because that was my personality, but it wasn't like accepted. It wasn't like something that you do. You gonna get one hug, but then you gonna straighten up type thing. So I had to really like. I really had to fend for myself, figure stuff out. You know, my mother ain't do everything for me. She let me figure some things out. I mean, I appreciate it. Yeah. So I did have. Nurture, just maybe not as much as a household where they got the mother and father and they understood their roles. Maybe that's not as much.
Okay.
Yeah. I want to just jump on one thing real quick. Whenever I hear something, I just want to speak on it real fast. But like you was thank you for coming through and sharing your testimony, your courage, and all of that to help everybody learn, everybody just open their minds up a little bit more about the situation. So what I was going to get at was, I don't know. So what that threw me off a little bit. So what I was going to get at was about, you said the man rules. As soon as you said the word man rules, I always jump on something real quick that I want to throw out there is because with the man rules happens, man, and all I know is it suppresses men and how to interact with their feelings and their emotions. All right, men don't cry, men don't do this, men don't do that, right? And this is all they do. And they keep it all bottled up inside because they feel, differently. And all of a sudden, and I wanted to bring it up is because that's when self-esteem breaks down. That's when you look for outlets. And that's where drug addiction, identity problems. I mean, there's so many different things that transpire right there in that moment. Like, if you are really suffering in silence and keeping things bottled up because of the man rules, I mean, there's woman rules too. I don't get into all them, but the man rules, I know, first, men don't cry. You stay all this time with pain and affliction that you letting your father down, letting your mother down, but you ain't crying no tears about it. It's gonna be bottled up inside. And what I always talk about in a lot of my shows, if you don't express your trauma in a positive way, you will express your trauma in a negative way. And around that time, I know that that's a self-esteem breakdown, and that's where it was a time for me to turn to drugs and alcohol to find an outlet away from the trauma that I was experiencing in life, and also having all I had bottled up inside. One, not having nobody to talk to, period. And then two, I was taught we don't show no weakness. That's soft to cry and complain or whatever. Soft. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
All right, y'all. We want to take this quick commercial break, pay these bills. And as my brother always says, when we come back, we're going to turn this negative into a positive.
Yeah, let's get it.
Hallelujah, y'all. We see y'all in a second.
Why is it I gotta die even if I comply? These men hands to the sky, government stay telling lies. We really be starting these riots. I promise you, we getting tired. Promise you, these are the facts. Yeah, we know the facts. We about to.
The Chemotep Foundation was inspired by my daughter being diagnosed with cancer. And through the pressures that my family went through, it's foundations like ours that offer resources that made it easier for us to manage the stress that a trial like this can bring. The Chemotep Foundation goal is to give support to families who have children that have been diagnosed with cancer, and to possibly bring a smile to a child's face.